Phillips. Well, you want to talk about ugly. That's what I have to say about both Syracuse and Buffalo this week. But of course, we're at two opposite ends of the spectrum with these uglies. The first ugly is Syracuse. South Florida seemed like a team that we were supposed to beat. But a funny thing happened down there on the way to Tampa Bay. Apparently, these Bulls think they're still in the old Big East. It looked pretty even there through one half, albeit a 10-3 score. But then South Florida came alive. What happened? Either Syracuse's defense is that bad, or of course, we had all those turnovers. But it was an ugly loss for the Orange. After we had that close game against LSU, I thought, we got a pretty good chance if we could play with one of the top teams in the SEC. But maybe that was a little bit of fool's gold, a little bit of pyrite. Because boy, did SU crash to earth. 45-24, we lose to South Florida. And you gotta wonder, with ACC play coming on, especially this week when we go to Old Virginia, you gotta wonder, is this SU team a team that gave LSU all it could handle, or a team that's gonna crash and burn? I hope it's not the latter. But the other spectrum of ugly is the way Buffalo beat Tennessee this week. Because for a while, the offense was offensive. Tyrod Taylor in the running game couldn't get going. Of course, a lot of our stars were hurt. But thankfully, we had Chris Hogan. And Hogan showed he was a hero, catching that pass that set up the touchdown pass Tyrod Taylor threw to him. And you gotta wonder, was there someone named Shots or someone named Colonel Klink around there? Because Hogan definitely was a hero. A good but ugly 14-13 win over Tennessee. But now let's see what happens when the Bengals come to Orchard Park. Cincinnati's for real, especially with Old Red, Andy Dalton. Well, I'm going to go from those two to talking about what is a sad but great end to a great tradition in New York State. For 44 years, the Mighty Modifieds raced around the Moody Mile there at the New York State Fairgrounds. But part of Governor Cuomo's plan to invest and improve facilities there at the fairgrounds, the Moody Mile and the grandstands are both being demolished. And for 44 years that provided a lot of memories. That race has been going on ever since I was born pretty much. But Stuart Friesen closed it with a win. And a lot of memories went with it. I've been a fan of the Mighty Modifieds most of my life. Watching Barefoot Bob McCready, the Dr. Danny Johnson, AJ Sideways Alan Johnson, Hurricane Steve Payne, and all the other greats run around that mile. But, of course, it'll continue up there in Oswego County. But, the closing of one makes me think of another track around here that hosted the Mighty Modifieds. Waterloo's been clamoring for businesses or some economy to be downtown. And long ago, Waterloo had one of the best tracks in New York State. Maple Grove Speedway was considered the best speedway in New York State. It was a unique tri-oval there at the Seneca County Fairgrounds. It held races till 1977. But of course, people around it started saying, "Oh, it's too loud. Oh." I got an idea, and I hope officials of Waterloo and Waterloo residents are listening, as I know I've got some fans in Waterloo. They say what downtown Waterloo was packed on race nights, and of course, one generation or maybe two generations have gone without racing at the Seneca County Fairgrounds. People are going to say, "Oh, we don't want the noise, we don't want the dirt." But how about bringing the dirt modifieds back to Seneca County Fairgrounds? I know there's going to need to be a lot of investment done there to bring it up to DIRT specs. But it would help the economy there, and Connie's Diner and the others would love the business. And there could be other businesses that open in Waterloo. So, that's my call. Bring racing back to the Seneca County Fairgrounds. I think it would benefit a lot of people, and you'd probably see me in the grandstands. Well, it's just a thought, but give it a thought. But now I'm gonna go from that to talking about what does anybody care about this tournament. The President's Cup was held this past weekend. That's the other big golf competition the American golfers are in other than the Ryder Cup. But it seems as though we dominate the President's Cup, but we cannot win in the Ryder Cup. What gives? The thing is, I know there's a lot of non-European golfers who are pretty good, be it Adam Scott, be it Jason Day, be it Louis Oosthuizen, and others. But the United States won the President's Cup again. But does anybody seem to care? There wasn't really a big uproar about it. It was another win. Well, when the Ryder Cup is contested, there's a big uproar. Of course, Europe has some of the best golfers, but Europe's been winning the Ryder Cup lately. So I say, does anybody care about the President's Cup? I like it, but we gotta get some more fur, or either you have to scrap it. But we go from that to talking about a couple of coaches, and you gotta wonder about the initials. The first name begins with S, last name begins with S. And those coaches may be sending out an SOS. First, Steve Sarkisian being fired by USC. Of course, he followed another coach who was definitely of ill repute, Lane Kiffin. But of course, Sarkisian's got his demons. Apparently, he's had a little bit of trouble keeping the booze down. He showed up a little bit inebriated a couple of times, and it was too much for USC athletic director Pat Hayden. Of course, he told him to go on leave, but a day later, Sarkisian's fired. What gives? Didn't you give him a chance? Thing is, you should give him a chance to get his life straightened around. But apparently Pat Hayden has knee-jerk reactions. But the other one that has those initials decided to call it a career. Steve Spurrier abruptly is retired as the coach of South Carolina. Of course, he's been a more successful coach with the initials with S and S. But of course, Steve Spurrier has had a brilliant career, not only winning the Heisman Trophy, but being one of the best college coaches of all time. You gotta wonder if any of those coaches send out an SOS. But last but not least, I'm gonna talk about a proposed merger. Apparently, Anheuser-Busch and Miller Beer are looking at a potential huge merger. Two of the biggest rivals there is in the beer market may be becoming one company. Of course, Anheuser-Busch is under investigation for kind of choking out craft beers. But you gotta wonder. Anheuser-Busch and Miller, St. Louis and Milwaukee teaming up. They're rivals on the baseball diamond, but apparently they want to be friends when it comes to marketing that nice little alcoholic beverage we all like to drink. Boy, that'll be a company, Anheuser-Busch Miller. Is it going to be the Clydesdales, or is it going to be Miller time? Oh, I'm Ken Haas, and those are my rants for this week.